Hi everyone and welcome to Season 3, Episode 2 of Reputation Rebuild at Aberdeen with me, the United City FM. Welcome along. So today we were due to play Rangers in the Scottish Premiership. Unfortunately, fixtures have been moved and changed around a little bit because of European competition being added in. So instead we're going to be playing Hamilton. But how's it all going after half a dozen games or so? All right. So, welcome to All Right Aberdeen. We're doing okay. If we go and have a look straight away at the league table, you can see that we've played 6 matches. We've got a game in hand over a couple of teams around us, but the likes of Celtic have only played 5. And you can already see that there is a fairly big gap between us and Rangers at the top of the table. Now, our game against them, as I say, today has been moved. So we're not going to be playing them. We're going to be playing Hamilton today. And that's not a bad game for us to be playing. They're struggling at the bottom of the table, keeps us moving forward. But ultimately, after this amount of games, really we should be a lot closer than we are. It was a little bit of a weak start. We've had 3 wins, 2 losses, 3 wins, 2 draws and 1 loss. We'll have a look at the fixture list in a minute, but it just hasn't been totally awesome, really. If we go and have a look at our competitions, you'll see that we've also been drawn in the Euro Cup group, Apoel, we've got Olympique Marseille, and then we've got Göteborg as well. So it's a little bit of a tricky group. We did lose our first game against Marseille, I think it was. Yes, I'm sure it was. So ultimately, we've got some work to do wherever you look currently, which at this stage of the season, I was hoping for a little bit better, especially in that league position. I mean, Rangers are an absolute machine, and it's really hard to get close to them. We're sitting currently 10 points behind with a game in hand after only half a dozen matches. And their goal difference, they've got 10 more goals in terms of their positive goal difference than we have as well. It's a real tricky one. We're going to have to take points off them at some point to get anywhere near them, and that's going to be tricky. But for now, let's focus on the Hamilton game, seeing if we can get the 3 points here, building up some momentum, and hopefully the sort of Celtic and Rangers might slip up elsewhere. But let's, before that, go and check out what we've been doing recently in our most recent fixtures. Here are the fixtures so far this season. You can see that we haven't been bad at all. I mean, we got a 1-0 loss in the last game against Marseille in the Euro Cup. We lost to Celtic very convincingly, to be honest, 3-0. We were never really in that match at all. Other than that, they're kind of results that you'd expect a little bit here and there. We've just about started to get Liam Delap scoring a little bit, which is good. The first couple of games of the season, the likes of Nisbet really struggled to get on the score sheet. He got 1 against Motherwell when we scored 5. 5 score lines for us. That's not how I wanted to say that at all, but we'll move on from it. You can tell what I'm trying to say. Anyway, we got 5 in 2 games both times. So there are some positives out there, but just those big sides, when we come up against the really big teams, either in our Euro group or the Scottish Premiership, and we really struggle. And it's bearing out again, really. Celtic dumped on us. What will Rangers do to us? But we don't now play them for quite some time because of the rearranged fixtures. So maybe we can pick up some momentum before we do. But for today, we've got Hamilton at home. They're struggling. Can we take the points? Let's find out. So unfortunately, having to get a tune out of this particular team so far this season has meant that I've played my first team players quite regularly over the last few weeks, and they've all hit a bit of a brick wall. You can see this half a dozen group of players down here, Hernandez, McCrory, Gruick, Elliott and Delap, are all below their conditioning, and I don't want an issue where we're making our players jaded early in the season. I don't want to cause them injury issues as we move through the season. So I am actually resting them today. And because we're playing one of the bottom 2 in the league this season so far, I have rotated the entire 11. It gives you a chance to see my second 11 play, but it's what I have to do very occasionally. We've got the likes of Demir come in, even though he's got a little bit of a fitness issue. On the bench, we are fairly sorted, but there's some players that obviously haven't had the match sharpness because we've had to play our first 11 just to get some momentum. So it's a little bit of a gamble. It could go completely wrong, but ultimately, these are the decisions you have to make as a manager, isn't it? And this is the one that I've made for today. So for today's match against Hamilton in the Scottish Premiership, we've got Trafford in goal, Ramsey at right back, Demir at left back, Devlin and Lonvik in central defence, Goss, Ferguson and Campbell in central midfield, McLennan on the right, Johnston on the left, Nisbet up top with a bench of Finlay, Kerr, Heiser, Bate, Kennedy, Middleton and Shankland. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. So as it's my rotated 11, I've gone very chilled out, hands in the pockets, just to say, just go out there, relax, play your natural game. The result will come. Hopefully, we'll get a non-pressured performance out of them. We are at home also, which helps. So whenever I'm rotating my 11 in like this, it's always good to find a home match against a lower light in the division if we can find one. And we have. So this is the perfect opportunity to properly give a rest to some of our bigger players who have played an awful lot this season, to be honest. It has been quite jam-packed with early games for them. Whilst, as I say, I was trying to find some momentum from them, really. It's been a really tricky start. We haven't looked terrible by any stretch, and we've got those big score lines occasionally. A couple of 5-goal matches, a couple of at least 1 3-goal match in there for us as well. But it just hasn't been as kind of consistent and dominant as I'd like it to be, really. But here's a highlight for us at 32 minutes. And if there was no offside, that was a lovely ball put in, and Nisbet was on the end of it. And it was he that was causing us the problem in the first 3 or 4 games. I couldn't get a goal out of him particularly. Delap has come in since and got quite a few, which is positive. So it just felt that there was a bit of a disconnect in providing Nisbet the chances that he needed. But there is a good one if he wasn't offside, if he held his run. And he did, quite a margin. You can see the 2 lines there. The red line was his starting position. So he was well onside on that one, and we do get a goal from it, which will settle the nerves down a little bit for this rotated 11 that have come in for today's match. It's always tricky for them to do that, but the other reason why I try and do it, as it's suggesting that we might need to take McLennan off at half-time, we'll look at that. But the other reason I like to do it is that if you rotate the entire 11s in and out through the season at very key moments when the second 11 can cope with it, they obviously start to build up cohesion together playing as an 11, and that improves their relationships on the pitch, etc., and gets better performances out of them as the season progresses. That's what I've found anyway. So that's one of the reasons why I do it. As well as just trying to keep them fit and healthy, really. So what have we got going on here? Where is McLennan? Let's go and check in with him and see what his issue is at this point. Can we tell on this screen? We probably can't. It's probably the wrong one to go to. I'll tell you where we go and find out. We'll go to the tactics page. There we go. Pro YouTuber moves, Kev. And there we are. What's he got? He's got a potential thigh injury. His conditioning isn't terrible, but hampered by an injury. I think we are going to have to take him off. So what are we going to do? We are going to bring Kennedy on, and he's going to have to play out wide right, even though normally he's a left-sided player. But that's what we're going to have to do for now. So back to the dressing room we go. We're going to go and say, again, hands together, chilled out. I'm happy with the performance so far. Keep it up. Because generally speaking, I am. It wasn't a particularly impactful first half for us to watch in that sense. But from me as the manager, 7 shots a goal, 4 on target, decent amount of percentage of possession, 1 goal up already, a reasonable XG rating, and we've suppressed them to 4 chances, but a 0.18 XG rating for them. So we're keeping them at bay pretty well. And there's another chance for us, and we get it into the 6-yard box area, but nobody was quite where the ball was, for us anyway. and Hamilton do come back out at us and have countered very nicely. They rode a challenge there, set it up at the top of the box, and then it's a simple tap-in, but it's disallowed for an offside. The original shot was an absolute thunderbolt which hit the woodwork. It came out for an ongoing striker, and that is a really narrow and pretty disappointing offside for Hamilton, I would imagine. That is as close as you're ever going to see, and we were very fortunate to get the rub of the green on that one. Here we go with a corner kick. Demir takes it over on that far side. It didn't really find anybody originally, but there's a second chance, and again there's a disallowed goal for Nisbet, but this time again it's offside for us. And we'll have to see how close that one was, but it was a good ball in from Demir. But it was indeed Nisbet who was offside, and quite a considerable way, really. He hadn't come back out from the original efforts with the defence and found himself in no man's land, really. 65 minutes in, we're beginning to put a little bit of pressure on again, though. Goss with a free kick, and he puts it narrowly wide to a goalkeeper that didn't move and should have potentially, if it was on target, would have gone in the back of the net. The goalkeeper was nowhere to be seen. We got another chance, though. Was that just a sighter for Goss? It was a good save by the goalkeeper. We're continuing to pile on the pressure. Corner kick again over that far side. Demir puts it in, and the goalkeeper comes out and claims it very comfortably. And then the highlight goes so we can finally pause the game. I've wanted to do that for a minute or two, but those highlights came and I didn't want to interrupt them. Now we can breathe and go and make some personnel changes. So we've obviously already made one because McLennan was struggling a little bit. We've got some yellow cards to take care of. Demir is very low in his energy levels. And we've got a couple of players that are around the sort of 6.6 area for their performance today. So some things to think about here. I think we're going to have to take the central midfield yellow card out, so we're not hampering ourselves in how competitive we can be there. Just switch him and Campbell round, so Campbell can play in the box-to-box midfield role. So Bate comes on for Ferguson, and we've only got one more to make. And I think we're going to have to probably bring Demir off, just because that worries me, the conditioning, a little bit more than potentially the yellow cards. And we'll find out whether I'm right or wrong, basically, as to whether or not ultimately we should have taken the yellow cards off because one of them gets sent off. But I can't afford big injuries, and I can't afford to ruin players' health early in the season. So that's one of my number one priorities. So there we go. Those are the decisions we've made. We're going to go back into the game. And once we do, we're going to go and reduce this down to balanced, our mentality rather than positive, and just try and suppress and hold on to the game a little bit. I'm not going to change the way that we play because it's created chances for us today. It's kept the ball away from Hamilton a reasonable amount. But we are just going to suppress the intent to go a little bit more positive. So withdraw a little bit and see out the game. 3 minutes to go. The time has really gone very quickly in this last 10 minutes of the game. And there is the full-time whistle. Not the most exciting game to watch in terms of highlights. We had one or two really good free kick opportunities from Goss, who in the end, again, has been a little bit of a theme so far. Defensively, we've done okay. There's some decent ratings in there. Offensively, especially out wide this season, maybe not quite so much. But there we go. A good win nonetheless from a reserve side, really. A rotated side, as I like to refer to them, really. A few yellow cards that we possibly shouldn't have had. But other than that, I'm actually pretty happy with this particular result. So here we go with the things that we need to look at just before we close down this particular episode. McLennan, who was off injured, of course, is out for 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm glad that I did rescue him from the game at the point where I did, really, and not let him drift on any further. 2 or 3 weeks. It's unfortunate because he may not be the best player in the squad or anything, but he's a decent enough rotating option down the right wing particularly. And we haven't got too many others. So yeah, unfortunate. So Harvey Elliott, time for you to step up, my friend, and play a lot of games for us in the next couple of weeks. So McLennan out. Let's go back into the homepage, shall we? That wasn't the right button to press at all. The other thing that we're going to have a look at is the league table. It has bumped us up to third position. Celtic remain ahead of us with a game in hand over us, which is really unfortunate. If they win it, they go up to 21 points with Rangers, and we're on 14. So 7 behind already. And we have to find a way to dig in some points against them as we go forward this season. And that is almost an impossible task at times, it feels like. But sitting where we probably should be at the moment, third place, best of the rest, trying to find a way to dig in at the top 2. We'll see how we get going with that as the weeks go by. But ultimately, it's blooming difficult. It just is. Aberdeen, I reckon I could get them there, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen this season if the early form is anything to go by. But anyway, we're going to try our best. We're going to dig in. We're going to get some momentum behind us and see where we go next over the next few games. So there's the loss to Marseille at the top of the page, and then our most recent game just played against Hamilton. So we've got several big games coming up, the likes of Göteborg and Apoel in the Euro Cup again. So we've got to play some more of those matches. We've got likes of Dundee United coming up. What we're going to come back for is we're going to play quite a few games and come back at the beginning of December for that Celtic match away from home. That's the game that we're coming back for. Just because I think that all of these other games are potentially winnable for us. It's the Celtic and Rangers games that really we need to figure out. And so I think there's a good chance for us at this point to play one of those on an episode and see how close we can get. So that's what we're going to come back for. Celtic game up next, and probably the following episode will be one of these 2 Rangers games, depending on how far I want to move between the Celtic and the following episode. So there's lots of good stuff to come up against the 2 big boys. In between time, we've got to get on this winning run. We've got to keep going and keep the momentum moving. So if they do slip up at all, we're ready to pounce. And just at the moment, it's a little bit inconsistent. But there we go. That's going to do it for today. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. I think we're going to have a good season, whether we achieve our goals or not. It should still be pretty interesting watching this Aberdeen side grow as the season moves on. But as I say, that's going to do it today. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Take care of yourselves. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join my United City community. The more the merrier. Click that like button on this particular episode. That will help me get seen by lots of more people. Remember, I'm currently over on Twitch at twitch.tv/the United City FM every weekday from 3 till 5 p.m. UK time. So come and check me out there. But as I said, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.